Section B. Ellipses.
Suppose you want to use an exact quote, but the parts of the quote that you need are at the beginning and the end of the quotation, and all the stuff in the middle isn't important. What you need are ellipses. They look like this and are used to show where text has been omitted from a direct quotation. Take a look at this movie review.
I thought the movie was ridiculous and a waste of time and money. The acting was so horrible I laughed out loud. And with such a great director like Pablo Mandusco, one would think the movie couldn't fail, but it did. Don't see this movie.
If we wanted to use parts of this passage in something we were writing, but we didn't need to print all of it, we could use ellipses to show that we've taken stuff out. One of the reviews for the movie went so far as to say, "I thought the movie was a waste of time."
See how by using ellipses we can leave a bunch of stuff out of the middle of a sentence? Those three little dots say, hey, there used to be something else here, but it's really not that important, so we didn't use it.
Sometimes bad guys abuse ellipses and use them to take out pieces of text that are an important part of the quote. This changes the quotation's meaning and is misleading and wrong.
One critic loved the movie and went so far as to say, "I laughed out loud. The movie couldn't fail."
See how we took the same quotation we've been using and misused the ellipses to replace some of the important parts. Now our quote doesn't really reflect what was said, and while this is grammatically correct, it's evil.
Ellipses are great, but there are no end marks. So if the part of the passage you're omitting comes right after the end of a sentence, you have to first write the ellipses, and then the period, question mark, or exclamation point. Yep, that's right. If the end mark happens to be a period, you'll have 4 dots in a row.
One of the reviews for the movie went so far as to say, I thought the movie was ridiculous and a waste of time and money. Don't see this movie. This time the ellipses comes after the end of a complete sentence, and since we have to keep the sentence's end mark, we have 4 dots. 1 for the period and 3 for the ellipses.
Time ellipses can end a sentence by itself is when you want to show that the sentence doesn't really have an end. It just sort of trails off.
I love you with all my heart and soul, and you outshine the sun, because the sun could never compare to you,
And lastly, they can show an extra long pause.
and so anyway, will you will you?
Yes, give me that ring.
See, compared to other marks, slashes and ellipses are a breeze. Here's a little review.
Slashes have 3 main uses. They can be used to separate lines of poetry, show a choice between 2 or more words, or to write fractions.
Ellipses are usually used to indicate omitted text in a direct quotation. They can also show a trailing off at the end of a sentence or a long pause. When ellipses come at the end of a sentence, we use both the end mark and the ellipses.
You did it. You've successfully tamed the untamed world of English punctuation Part 2. We've talked about dashes, hyphens, apostrophes, parentheses, quotation marks, brackets, slashes, and ellipses. Wow, we've covered a lot.